As a law enforcement officer, I attest that my fundamental duty is to serve mankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all persons to ensure liberty, equality, and justice.
Welcome to Gainesville PD on Duty, where we take you behind the badge of the Gainesville Police Department. My name is Officer Ben Tobias, and I'm the agency spokesperson. Each month, I invite a different officer to join me in the studio so you can meet the different members of the agency. This month, I have an officer with me that most of the public will never see because he spends his time training the members of the agency. So, Officer Aaron Waggle, thanks for being on the show. I'm glad to have you here.
Thanks, Ben. Well, as you said, I'm a member of our Operational Skills Unit, which means I help train both our new officers and existing officers within service training. I've been with the agency since 2008. Previously, I had about 12 years in law enforcement before I moved to Florida.
Aaron, I'm glad that you were able to join us today. On this episode, we'll talk about police explorers, who are some young people with big aspirations. Then we'll sit down with our crime analysts to learn how they help us solve and actually predict crime. And then we'll finish with a viewer favorite, Party Patrol. The Gainesville Police Department is the host agency for Explorer Post 917. Police Explorers is a young adult program for high school students that aims to educate and involve them in police operations and to interest them in law enforcement functions. In the program, they learn leadership, discipline, life management, and community service skills, among other things. This year, we are so proud of one of our own GPD Explorers, Captain Elvin Kelsey, who was voted as the youth president of the Florida Association of Police Explorers. So congratulations to him. GPD's current Explorer advisor is Officer Dontanya Smith. Officer Smith is also the sitting advisor for the entire state of Florida, which is a first for a Gainesville police officer. We recently sat down with her to learn more about the program.
Police Explorers is a program for high school kids that are interested in law enforcement, the law, military. It's meant for those that are 14 and entering at least 9th grade, and you age out at 21. Our program is almost 45 years old. It's actually sponsored through Boy Scouts, and it is hosted by your local law enforcement agency.
We help out officers during special events and stuff, acting as basically extra eyes and ears. And when we're not doing an event, we're training in law enforcement tactics through scenarios and special guest speakers. We also travel to different agencies and learn from them, such as the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the Florida Highway Patrol, and other police departments and sheriff's offices around the state.
I'm actually the advisor for the Gainesville Police Explorers. I've been over them for about 4 years now. I coordinate the events, I participate in the events with the kids, I assist with transporting them from events and back home. I have a lot of jobs. I'm basically their mama when they're away from their moms. I was an explorer for Gainesville Police Department, so it's lovely for me to give back to them some of the same mentorship that I had growing up. As I look back, Chief Jones was actually my explorer advisor, so now I look at them as they could be me someday looking back. The main thing we like to teach these kids is leadership. I always remind them that they represent us in the community. Even when you're not in my uniform, you represent me. People know that you're an explorer. And I remember that from when I was a kid, because when you got in trouble, the first thing they did was tell your advisor. So they know the same thing happens here.
I preside over our Explorer meetings, which are every Tuesdays. I help her plan out different events and stuff. Like, for example, we have an Explorer Academy every year, so I help her plan that and help her make schedules for that. Also keep in contact with all the Explorers and make sure that the other people on my chain of command, I have a sergeant, a lieutenant, and 2 corporals, and I make sure that they're also keeping up with what they're supposed to be doing, and if they need any help, then I help them out as well as far as the inventory goes, the equipment. And then at different events, I'm the one who's walking around making sure everyone is staying hydrated, knows what they're supposed to be doing, and I also coordinate the drill team part of it and train our new guys and help the rest of the command staff get to the point where they'll be able to lead once I'm gone.
Gainesville Police Explorers are part of what we call FAPE. It's the Florida Association of Police Explorers. We have participated with them for probably about 2 or 3 years now. It's basically about 300 youth that come together and do competitions and trainings throughout the state. It's local law enforcement agencies, sheriff departments, and even federal agencies such as Homeland Security. Once a year we do a big competition where we compete against each other, in different law enforcement-based scenarios. This year, for the first time, we actually participated in Youth Board President elections. The kids actually have to campaign, they do flyers, they have to give speeches. It's really neat, like a true campaign all week long, and at the end of the week, they're actually voted on.
The last one I did run for president of FAPE for a second time in a row, and this year I did win. As the president, I preside over all of our delegate meetings, answer any questions from fellow explorers all across the state if they have any, and stay in contact with them and try to improve our communications all over the state. When I first got elected, I started talking to the post and I asked them for their feedback on how they thought the state competition went as far as scenarios and stuff. And so they'll give me that feedback, and then we'll go and we'll talk about it, and hopefully we'll have some kind of vote on if we think, one of the scenarios should be changed to something else or something like that. The advisor, Officer Smith, since she is over the Gainesville Police Explorer, she automatically becomes the state advisor for the entire state of Florida for police explorers. So she acts as a liaison between the youth boards and the adult board. Mostly I love the camaraderie. We're not all big serious kind of guys. Like, we don't just stand around with frowns on our faces for no reason. We're always smiling, we're always having a good time no matter what the event. If someone wants to join Police Explorers, they can look on the Gainesville Police Department website and go under the youth programs and click on Police Explorers, and then they can email Officer Smith, and they come to the first meeting, and that one's a freebie for them, and they get to just kind of hang back and see if they like it, if they enjoy it, and then when they leave that day, we send them home with an application. And if they like it, they come back the next week with their application fully signed and a copy of their birth certificate, and we give them their uniforms, and we start getting them into some training.
My hopes for our program is that we continue to grow. We've come a long way in the last 4 years.
Well, I just hope to see it grow even bigger than what it's already grown into so far.
Our explorers get to learn a lot of great skills while helping us out in many different ways. Many current Gainesville police officers are former explorers. We enjoy being able to build that relationship early and have these young people give back to the community with their service. After a break, we learn what crime analysis is and how GPD uses it to keep crime rates low. Stay with us. Gainesville PD on duty. We'll be right back.
Burglaries and robberies have become serious concerns in our city. This crime is referred to as a crime of opportunity because most criminals look for the path of least resistance. Protect yourself. Don't become a target. Lock your doors and keep expensive items out of plain view.
For crime prevention information, go to GainesvillePD.org or call the Gainesville Police Department's Crime Prevention Office at 334-2479. Protect yourself. Don't become a target.
I will maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule. Develop self-restraint and be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed in both my personal and official life, I will be exemplary in obeying the laws of the land and the regulations of my department. Together, as a community, we foster order, safety, and freedom.
When folks think of the police, they think of patrol cars and officers in uniform. Rarely do folks think about what goes on behind the scenes. Gainesville police officers don't just randomly patrol hoping they catch a criminal. They are directed by data collected through our reports and crime trends. GPD uses 3 very capable crime analysts to study and process this data to help our officers focus their efforts on the street. I recently sat down with the analysts to learn more about how they are able to do so much to affect crime without actually being in the police car.
Crime analysis is the study of trends and patterns in crimes. Basically, the analyst looks at the incident reports that come into the police department each day. We're looking at them for patterns, for the who, the what, the when, and the why of how crimes are happening in our city. This allows police officers to better focus on certain areas so that they'll know how to better address the crimes that are happening. I've been with the Gainesville Police Department since 2002 as a crime analyst. And before that, I was a staff specialist in the narcotics division. So for 16 plus years, I've been an analyst here. And prior to that, I was an analyst for DynCorp. As far as the qualities in a crime analyst, the first quality I would say is the ability to adhere to confidentiality. As an analyst, you're exposed to all sorts of data. There might be something very interesting that happens, and I may know the people involved personally, but I have to make sure that I maintain that confidentiality. The other skill that an analyst should have is they should be very skilled at using computers. We use all kinds of computers and databases on a day-to-day basis. We have 4 different types of analysis that we focus on mainly at GPD. The first type of analysis is tactical crime analysis, and this is looking at the current short-term trends and patterns in crime. We're looking at the suspect detail. We're looking at the incidents and where they're happening at. We're trying to help the officers see how to better respond to those cases. Strategic analysis is the long-term crime pattern analysis. We're looking at trends, we're looking at problems, we're looking at helping administrators look at things on a more long-term basis to see how they can better address those crimes. Intelligence analysis is studying the persons committing the crime. And we're particularly looking at people committing organized crime and also looking at people committing things like narcotics cases, domestic terrorism, and those types of cases. We're trying to find out what the life is like of that person. What is their role in the organization? What types of things are they doing? We're trying to find out information that we can use to help dismantle or disrupt the crime activities. We get requests that come in randomly from administrators within the police department or other administrators within the community. Basically, this is where we do our statistics. This is where we respond to city commission requests. This is where an officer may need information to go out to his community crime watch meeting, and we will provide him with a report that will help him fulfill those needs. We have 3 analysts at GPD, and each of us have varying assignments, but we're all cross-trained. So when one can accomplish something, the other can.
I've been a crime analyst here at GPD for 7 years. And before that, I started my crime analysis career at the University of Florida Police Department. We definitely do forecast. I mean, there is a lot of forecasting done in our positions. And no, we can't say that somebody's going to do something again, for sure. However, if they proceed in the future as they have in the past, then we might just catch them. The strategic part of our job, a lot of times we have certain events that come through, in the city of Gainesville, where we know that the students are going to be gone at certain times. So we do the long-term problem solving on that. We try to tell the officers that, yes, we're going to have, residential burglaries while the students are gone. These are the areas that you need to be in to keep it from happening. And we do that, quite often, whenever anything that we know of is coming up.
One of the things that an analyst do every day is after we review the cases, we put out something called the Crime Snapshot Report, and it highlights the cases that we see as patterns. And it also tells the officer, okay, what area is this happening in? What time should I patrol out there? On a case-by-case basis, the amount of data that we go through is enormous.
And it is a lot of stuff that we actually see that an officer won't need to know, but we have to make that decision whether or not they do.
Tactical briefing is a weekly meeting where we sit together with a representative from every area of the police department. We start with the chief and we go all the way down to the analyst or a civilian staff there. We're basically sitting in that meeting to provide information to the officers on what are our current trends and patterns. We review a 7-day period of crime, and then we look at what happened the prior 7 days. And we're basically trying to determine focus points for the agency. So in doing that, we're saving the department resources. We're helping the officer not waste time that he could be doing on more important things, knowing that what I'm doing on my job is not only personal gratification, but it's also bettering the lives of the citizens in the community around me. We're working as teams. We're working hand in hand to solve crime. And it does my heart good to know that my little role is affecting that kind of change in our community.
I love doing crime analysis. I love what I do. I love working here at the Gainesville Police Department. My favorite part of being a crime analyst here at GPD is being able to help the people of the community. I know that the information, they don't know who we are, but really it is about, the officers being able to do their job and do their job to help the community.
Our crime analysts are tasked with sifting through tons of data and making sure that our patrol officers get the most relevant information possible to direct their patrol efforts. They truly are an invaluable part of our agency. After a quick break, we'll finish the episode with a fan favorite, the Party Patrol. Don't go anywhere. Gainesville PD on duty. We'll be right back.
So you're cruising down the road and all of a sudden you spot flashing lights up ahead. Some sort of emergency vehicle. Maybe a cop car, maybe an ambulance, maybe a tow truck is stopped on the side of the road with its flashing lights on. What do? If you answer, just keep right on going. Wrong. Sorry, try again. When an emergency vehicle or tow truck is stopped on the roadside with its lights flashing, it's your job to move over or slow down 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. That's right, move over and give them some room, or slow down if you just can't change lanes. That is unless you like paying tickets, because that's just what you'll get, a big, fat ticket. So here's the deal. Keep your eyes on the road at all times and watch the road up ahead, not just what's right in front of your hood. Anytime you see an emergency vehicle or tow truck on the side of the road, move over a lane or slow down to 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. Give them the space they need to do their job safely. Hey, these folks are looking out for you, so look out for them too, will you? Move over, Florida. It's the law. A message from the Florida Highway Patrol, paid for by the Florida Department of Transportation.
I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, animosities, or friendships to influence my decisions. With no compromise for crime and with relentless prosecution of criminals, I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately, without fear or favor, malice or ill will, and never employing unnecessary force.
Welcome back to Gainesville PD on Duty. Of all the segments we air, a viewer favorite is our Party Patrol. It's a group of officers that patrol the weekend nights when there are more loud parties and events. We want our residents to be able to enjoy themselves and have fun, but sometimes folks need a reminder that their neighbors may not like that extra noise. We recently rode with Officer Trish Gould for a Party Patrol shift. Let's see how her night went.
I'm Officer Trish Gould. I normally work in Delta Zone on midnight shift, so that's up in the Northeast. But tonight I'm doing an overtime assignment called Party Patrol, where we focus on noise complaints, parties, and bar closing. So typically the first few hours are mostly spent going to noise complaints, where people call in about loud parties, loud music, that kind of thing. It's a party down in November Zone, which it's going to be kind of near Shands, just south of there. And I guess they called in last night about it, but there's a party going on, so we got to see if it's in violation, and then if it is, tell them to turn it down. It's totally fine to have a party. It's expected to have a good time, but just to be responsible about it and to also be respectful of your neighbors. Hello, Gainesville Police Department. Who lives here? You got to keep in mind that, especially with apartment buildings, the walls usually aren't all that thick, so your neighbor probably is going to hear your music. It is within violation. It's an apartment complex. The level of noise is going to be disruptive to any person with reasonable sensitivities. So you'll be getting a written noise warning, which means that there's no monetary fine attached to this. You have 15 minutes to lower the volume of your party, maybe relocate the party elsewhere if you think that's best. If you're gonna have a party, it might be wise to let them know ahead of time, hey, I'm gonna have a party. If it's too loud, feel free to let me know before calling or something like that. It wouldn't hurt, but just in general to be mindful of what your guests are doing as well, because sometimes it's not necessarily the people throwing the party, but it's the guests that cause issues. Yeah, do you have it on you? Do you have the noise permit on you? Okay, so they're gonna throw a party and they flat out plan on being loud, like maybe they're gonna have a band playing, or they're just gonna be playing really loud music, especially outside. It's a good idea to go ahead and get a permit from the city. Basically the permit is gonna specify a time period from this hour to this hour, you can be this loud, and that means that we might show up, but once you show us the permit, we look it over, we verify that it is legitimate, tell you, all right, you have fun, we'll see you some other time. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. Y'all have a good night. So another good thing to do as far as if you're throwing parties is to keep in mind how many people you're gonna have showing up. One, for traffic reasons, where are they gonna park? Is they gonna clog up the roadway? My concern is the whole traffic congestion. Right. If somebody over here needed an ambulance, how's that ambulance gonna get in here, you know what I mean? And then two, the more people you have, the louder it's gonna be. So when you're calling in a noise complaint, it's important to know, one, where you are as the caller and where the noise is coming from. If you're unable to figure out where the noise is coming from, maybe just a general direction, something like that. It's good to specify what kind of noise it is. Is it music? Is it people? What do you want us to come out there and hear in order for us to pay attention and know what we need to correct? In my opinion, it's a good idea to have, instead of requesting that you don't want contact, to have us contact you. That way, if we do go out there and when we're out there we don't hear a violation, we're still able to contact you and explain, look, when we showed up, they were not in violation of the city ordinance. That doesn't mean that they weren't earlier, but we don't have the proof right now. Feel free to call back later, that kind of thing. That way we're able to explain where we're coming from, or maybe we did issue a noise warning and we can let you know, hey, they've been issued a noise warning, they have 15 minutes to correct it. If they don't correct it, call us back, we'll come out and issue them a noise citation, that kind of thing. So it allows there to be communication between the caller and us. These are my noise warnings. They're ready to go if we need it. Right around like 1 o'clock or so, we either head to Midtown or downtown for bar closing, and bars close at 2. So we just try to keep everybody out of the roadway and just kind of ensure they all go home safely and without any issues, hopefully not fighting or anything like that. In Midtown, we got called to a suspicious person. Is there somebody in a dumpster? Oh, Jesus.
Dude, I've never done this, but I felt like this guy needs help. That guy needs help.
He's behind the dumpster.
Oh, he's not in the dumpster. Oh, no.
What's wrong? Nothing. What are you doing under the dumpster? Nothing, sir. Nothing. All right, why don't you stand up for us and come on out? Okay, sir. Grab your phone. Grab your phone. Grab your phone. Is that your orange bag, Pat?
Underneath a dumpster in an enclosed dumpster area. So it's not someplace where we would even normally think to find a person. I've never personally seen anybody underneath a dumpster. He was covered in mud, covered in some vomit. It's a very good thing that somebody saw him and called, because, you know, if you think of the worst situation, I mean, he could have vomited, choked on it, been underneath that dumpster, nobody would have found him, that kind of thing. So it's a good thing that somebody called. We were able to get him medical help because he absolutely needed it. So ultimately he ended up going to the hospital where they'll be able to give him whatever kind of fluids he needs. And we've ensured that he will eventually make it home safely. We were able to get in touch with his father, so that was good too. Working party patrol, we're not out there to ruin your night. We're still all for everybody having a good time. The goal is just to have both the partiers have a good time and the folks that live nearby that aren't partying also enjoy their night as well. So the ideal goal is for everybody to enjoy their night, party responsibly, but also party within a reasonable manner.
With students back in town and the University of Florida football season upon us, we expect that our party patrol officers will stay busy throughout the rest of the year. And remember, if you don't want party patrol officers knocking on your door, then make sure you're respectful when you throw your next party.
And that wraps up this episode of Gainesville PD On Duty. Be sure to find us online on Facebook or Twitter, or by visiting our website at GainesvillePD.org. You can learn more about the Gainesville Police Department and even watch previous episodes.
We're always looking for new topics to share with you on the show, so please let us know what areas of the department you'd like to see. Also, as a reminder, I'm sure you've seen by now that there will be some major changes on West University Avenue during UF football games, portions of which will be closed during the game.
So be sure to check GPD's social media for detour information. We know that the first game will be a learning experience for everyone, so please build some extra travel time into your plans. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon for another episode of Gainesville PD On Duty.
I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as public trust to be held, so long as I am true to the ethics of the police service. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself before God to my chosen profession, law enforcement.
Burglaries and robberies have become serious concerns in our city. This crime is referred to as a crime of opportunity because most criminals look for the path of least resistance. Protect yourself, don't become a target, lock your doors, and keep expensive items out of plain view.
For crime prevention information, go to GainesvillePD.org or call the Gainesville Police Department's Crime Prevention Office at 334-2479. Protect yourself. Don't become a target.